Alright, jabronis, strap in. Because before Jeff Hardy was the neon ghost of your childhood and was swanton bombing his spine just into dust, he was just Jeffrey Nero Hardy. Born August 31st, 1977, in Cameron, North Carolina. A town so small that even Google Maps probably just shrugs and tells you to just turn around. Jeff and his brother Matt didn't grow up with fancy wrestling schools or, corporate training or anything like that. Nah, these dudes did what most kids do nowadays and built their own wrestling federation right in their backyard, complete with trampolines, plywood, and the kind of OSHA violations that would make a lawyer weep blood. It was called the Trampoline Wrestling Federation, the TWF. And these maniacs were out here hitting 450 splashes off of lawnmowers before they even hit puberty. The Hardy Boys, they weren't just wrestling, they were innovating pain. Like, while other kids were learning algebra, learning about, World War I and World War II, Jeff was just out here just learning about how to defeat gravity, essentially. He was obsessed with motion, art, and individuality. By their teens, the Hardys were so dedicated to their dream that they made their own indie promotion. They called it Omega, which kind of sounds like what I would name, my wrestling promotion in, universe mode, but, Omega became a proving ground for stars like Shannon Moore, Joey Matthews, Gregory Helms, and a whole bunch of other people that kind of just looked like they escaped a 90s Mountain Dew commercial. Jeff was already known for his death-defying style, which is just kind of code for he just jumps off a tall shit for basically no fucking reason. He didn't care about fame yet. It's like he just wanted people to say, I cannot believe he survived that. Which, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I just cannot believe he survived, I'm gonna be honest with you, that I've seen. But eventually, the Hardy Brothers caught the attention of the WWF. And in 1994, Jeff started working as an enhancement talent, which is just a jobber. Now, these early WWF matches, they were chef's kisses of pain. Jeff was barely 16, and he was getting powerbombed by people like Razor Ramon, getting squashed by Yokozuna. He kind of just looked like a test dummy in Jinko jeans. But through all the squashes, fans noticed something. Jeff moved kind of differently. He wasn't your typical jobber. He was bouncing, flipping, twisting. Every time he hit the mat, he kind of just looked like a firework made of cartilage. By 1998, Jeff and Matt got their first real shot. They officially signed with the WWF and got paired with Michael Hayes, a man who kind of just looked like if a southern bar grew a mustache and grabbed a mic. The Hardys were lean, hungry, and had wild energy that screamed, "We do not care if we die." They started off wearing baggy cargo pants, see-through mesh shirts, and hair so 1999 it practically smelled like a Hot Topic, but they were different, young, fast, and willing to break every single bone in their body just for the entertainment of the crowd. And then the Hardy Boys met their soulmates, essentially, in the business. Edge and Christian. The ladder matches between these two teams changed absolutely everything. These weren't even really matches during, at some point. They just became, just stunt shows. They were doing some of the craziest shit imaginable. Every single bump looked fatal. Every dive looked like an expensive-ass hospital bill. And when the TLC matches started, these matches were some of my, again, I'm young, and I was not alive during this, but Jeff Hardy is my favorite wrestler of all time. I went back and watched these on the WWE Network. Bro, these matches are my favorite matches to watch. I swear to God. These matches are good. These matches are fucking goated. Ow. Jeff became a cultural icon overnight. Face paint, the armbands. He wasn't really just a wrestler anymore. He was a walking art project that occasionally died for your entertainment. Kids loved him. Adults loved him. Commentators had to keep a defibrillator handy. And by 2001, the Hardy Boys had captured tag team gold multiple times and were cemented as the king of the ladder match. But here's the thing, Jeff's rise wasn't really just about championships. It was about identity. He wasn't really like anyone else. While other wrestlers flexed and, basically just did a shit ton of roids, Jeff was painting poetry with pain and also doing other type of medication. So when we last left off, Jeff Hardy had successfully defied physics and the American healthcare system. The Hardy Boys were gods among men to wrestling fans, but the early 2000s, that's where things really got wild. Because you see, Jeff was about to go solo, and for the first time, the spotlight was not being shared. It was directly aimed at his face, which he probably painted 5 minutes ago with glow-in-the-dark nail polish. The Undertaker, yes, The Undertaker, the 7-foot-tall goth cowboy that looks like he collects souls and denim jackets. And somehow, Jeff mostly held his own. That ladder match on Raw, for me going back and watching that was like a religious experience. Jeff got the ever-loving hell beat out of him. Undertaker fucked him up, but Jeff just kept trying to climb the ladder. And then, even after losing, Undertaker picks him up and gives him a nod of respect. And right there, at least in my opinion, is where I think WWE realized that Jeff Hardy had the chance to be a main event level talent. But he also earned something probably more valuable if you're like a WWE lifer, which is The Undertaker's respect. But he also probably got permanent spinal damage from that match, and every other match he's ever fucking been in. Jeff's popularity was skyrocketing. His merch was flying off the shelves. Teenage boys everywhere were painting their face and trying to swanton off bunk beds. Meanwhile, parents were calling hospitals preemptively like, yeah, hi, my son just discovered who Jeff Hardy is. We're probably gonna be there later. But fame has a funny way of catching up to people. And Jeff's lifestyle was pretty intense. Touring constantly, performing insane stunts nightly, and living in the blender of fame, exhaustion, and neon paint fumes. So something was bound to break. And that something was Jeff Hardy. See, Jeff was never really wired for the corporate way that WWE works. Vince really wanted structure. And Jeff was just a chaotic mess. He would do things like sleep through alarms, like to go out during live shows so he wouldn't be ready. And by 2003, the cracks started to show. Reports started rolling in that Jeff was missing flights, showing up late, or just disappearing entirely. Like some sort of mystical creature that only appears whenever there's a ladder in the ring. WWE didn't really know how to handle the free spirit that was Jeff Hardy. They tried interventions, schedule changes, motivational talks, but Jeff wasn't just burnt out. He was lost. And in April 2003, WWE officially released him. Now, most wrestlers would have most likely taken a little bit of a break, rested, and then reassess everything that's going on. Maybe even gone to therapy or something like that. Jeff said no to all that. He looked at his life and just said, what if we go to TNA? And so that's what he did. In 2004, Jeff Hardy debuted in TNA and basically instantly became the guy. No introduction really needed. The crowd lost their ever-loving minds. This was the Rainbow Daredevil, the charismatic enigma. The man who made concussion protocols cry. See, TNA had stars like AJ Styles, Abyss, and Raven, but Jeff was different. He brought a type of mainstream energy from WWE that none of the other guys really did. His early feuds in TNA were absolutely electric. The matches with AJ Styles and Jeff Jarrett were cinematic. Hardy flying through tables, hitting swantons off scaffolds that probably weren't OSHA approved. You could tell he wasn't really just wrestling for the paycheck. He was wrestling for the moment. Essentially what a lot of live streamers do nowadays. He was trying to get the clip. But the other side of Jeff's artistry was darker. The same fire that made him fearless in the ring also made him reckless outside of the ring. He was open about his struggles, burnout, drugs, depression, the trifecta of a rock star tragedy. Jeff was living like a grunge song came to life. He wanted to create art, music, and expression, but the pressure of fame and the toll on his body were just tearing him apart. He'd go from painting murals in a barn one day to wrestling death matches the next. He wasn't really a company man, he was a one-man movement. Part wrestler, part performance artist, part guy your mom warned you about in high school. And through all that chaos, people still loved him, because no matter how many times he fell, literally or metaphorically, he'd always get back up. And by the end of 2004, Jeff was in limbo. WWE had let him go. TNA was pushing him as a top star, but his consistency was kind of shaky. It was sort of a transitional era. The rise, the chaos, and the beginning of what fans would eventually call the Jeff Hardy redemption arc, which would take, I don't know, like a decade and several court dates to complete. So it's 2006, the MySpace era. Everyone's customizing their profiles, Fall Out Boy is dominating the charts, and somewhere in Cameron, North Carolina, Jeff Hardy is recharging his batteries in a shed full of paint, guitars, and unexplainable energy. After his wild TNA stint, Jeff just went off the map for a bit. He was painting, making weird experimental music with Peroxawai Gin. Yeah, that's the real band name. I don't know what the fuck he was on. He was on that shit, boy. God, what the fuck? And posting MySpace blogs that were something between a poem and a fever dream. And fans were asking Vince to just bring back their glow stick messiah. And finally, it happened. August 21st, 2006. Monday Night Raw. Jeff Hardy returns. The crowd exploded. Pyro goes off. Michael Cole probably sprained his vocal cords yelling. Jeff comes out to Loaded, his classic theme, doing that weird shoulder dance that he does. I don't know what this is. He hit that shit though. He be hitting that shit though. Jeff looks older, sharper, and somehow more dangerous. This wasn't 2001 Jeff. This was version 2.0. And in his first few weeks back, he immediately reignites his feud with Edge. Because, of course, if there's a ladder nearby, these two are going to fucking hit each other with it. Hardy goes full throttle from the jump. Matches with Edge, Johnny Nitro, Umaga. It didn't matter. Dude was bouncing off the ropes like a Super Bowl. He starts climbing again, both literally and career-wise. And by the end of 2006, he's feuding for gold. And then it happens. Jeff Hardy wins the Intercontinental Championship. The crowd goes nuclear. The man's holding gold again and it just feels right. But this wasn't nostalgia. Jeff was about to start probably his greatest run of his entire career. This was the true redemption arc. Jeff Hardy rebuilt, refocused, and ready to jump off even stupider heights. Hardy spends 2007 holding down the mid-card like an unhinged daredevil philosopher. He's cutting promos that sound like poetry written on Monster Energy cans, wearing arm sleeves that look like they were stolen from a circus. Again, he put that shit on though. And still wrestling like every single match might be his last. And the way he was wrestling, I'm surprised every single match wasn't his fucking last. And one of his biggest rivalries of the year, Johnny Nitro. I'm pretty sure this is John Morrison, by the way. Could be wrong. I'm not looking it up, because fuck you. But I've always thought this. These two put on absolute bangers, but the real classics came in early 2007. A ladder match on Raw for the IC title. This match was fucking insane. Then came the Hardy Boys reunion. Matt and Jeff teamed up in the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 23.
Hey everyone, Editor Blaze here. Sorry to interrupt. I worded this wrong, like just terribly. I made it sound like it was a tag team Money in the Bank match. It wasn't. I don't think that's ever been a thing. It might have been before. I don't fucking know. I'm a casual. But, yeah. Sorry for the wording. And if it caused any confusion. Anyways, back to the video.
And immediately reminded everybody why they were the undisputed tag champs of just stupidity. After that, the Hardys were back together, capturing tag team gold again, and taking on all comers. Pause! But deep down, everybody knew Jeff's destiny was just bigger. And that destiny was painted in neon and shaped like a world title. 2008 was Jeff Hardy's year. He starts feuding with Randy Orton, and the story basically becomes what if Chaos fought Discipline. Orton is methodical, cold, smug, and Jeff is the human equivalent of a Skittles explosion. Their feud was fucking legendary. Hardy literally climbed an entire production tower, essentially. This shit was high as fuck. Holy shit. And swantons onto Orton through the table below, and whatever else that little... I don't know, I just always called it the trash area, because that's what the fuck it looks like. It looks like they meant to make it look like a trash area. I'm pretty sure it's just like the equipment area, but, you know, fuck you. This was nuts. Commentary lost their minds. Jim Ross probably aged like 10 years just from how much he screamed. This wasn't just a stunt. Jeff Hardy was redefining what wrestling could really look like. Fans absolutely loved him. Like, he wasn't just popular anymore. He was beloved. Every show, people painted their faces, made Hardy equals hope signs, and treated him kind of like a rock star prophet. Then came the moment of destiny. Jeff Hardy versus Triple H versus Edge at Armageddon 2008. And this match was for the WWE Championship, the fucking spinner belt though. Ugly ass belt. But I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of grown on me as I gotten older, and I think it's nostalgia. I'm going to stand on it no matter if I like it or not. The belt looks like ass. I got an agenda to push. You could feel it. The years of struggle, the heartbreak, the ladder crashes, the suspension, the chaos, all building to this. And when Jeff hit the Swanton Bomb, pinned Edge, and finally held the WWE title, the roof blew off the place. He did it. The Charismatic Enigma was the WWE champion. It was poetic, cathartic, and absolutely insane. Jeff Hardy, the kid from Cameron, North Carolina, who just refused to follow any rules, was standing on top of the world. But this is Jeff Hardy we're talking about. And if history has taught us anything, it's that every time Jeff Hardy climbs to the top, gravity suddenly remembers his name. Jeff's reign as WWE champion was unforgettable, but it was insanely short-lived. He loses the title thanks to interference from his brother to Edge, and that's kind of where that ends. But then, a little down the line, he started a feud with CM Punk. And this feud was an absolute fucking banger, because it wasn't just about titles, it was about who Jeff Hardy and CM Punk were as people. CM Punk, the straight edge, no drugs, no drinking, no nothing, starts calling Jeff a junk, mocking his lifestyle and his struggles with addiction live on TV. It was raw, real, and sometimes a little bit too real for me whenever I was a fucking kid, because I was like, Jesus Christ, Jeff Hardy's a junkie. I'll never forgive CM Punk. But it worked. It was storytelling that hit hard because it was Jeff's story, and the matches were brutal. Their TLC match at SummerSlam 2009 was pure chaos. Hardy flying off ladders, Punk barely surviving, and the crowd losing their collective mind. But Punk ultimately won the feud, and that marked an end of an era. Jeff Hardy, broken, battered, and exhausted, said goodbye to the WWE. He left with his head high, but you could tell. The toll was catching up to him. He'd become a legend, but legends bleed. If the last part was Jeff's redemption arc, then this is what happens whenever you hit New Game Plus and accidentally turn on Nightmare Mode. Jeff Hardy was a free agent once again, with enough creativity in the system to probably power an entire nation. He makes a massive return to TNA in January of 2010, and the TNA crowd absolutely lost their fucking minds. They had been kind of starving for star power. And here comes Jeff, the human embodiment of Mountain Dew Code Red, back to save the day. He feuded with AJ Styles, Abyss, and anybody who basically dared to get in his way of defying gravity. But this run, it got dark insanely fast. Jeff was struggling again, injuries, exhaustion, that creeping sense of burnout. Behind the scenes, whispers of issues resurfaced. And then Victory Road 2011 happened. The night is fucking infamous, and just in general throughout wrestling, but especially if you're a fan of Jeff Hardy, you 100% know about this. It's like a top probably 3 what the fuck is going on, like, wrestling moments for me. If not top 1. It was Jeff Hardy versus Sting for the TNA World title. Supposed to be a main event. Supposed to be epic. This was one of Jeff's idols. Instead, Jeff walks out visibly fucked up. He can barely stand straight. His eyes look like this. Like, he looked gone. Like, he's not there. And Sting, a literal wrestling saint, has to pin him in 90 seconds just to end it safely, and you could see on Sting's face just how pissed off he was. He was fucking pissed. And I don't blame him. The crowd's chanting, "This is bullshit," because it is bullshit. Sting, like I said, looked pissed off and heartbroken. And Jeff hit rock bottom right there on pay-per-view. He disappeared from TV and fans got worried, and his career was kind of just in limbo. It's one of those rare moments where wrestling kind of stops feeling like wrestling. And then, silence. We fast forward a few months, and Jeff comes back clean, apologetic, and focused. And not in a corporate apology tour type of way like you see with fucking, like, I don't know, let me just think of a random one. What's that bitch that did the ukulele for doing some crazy shit? This was more of a real apology, or at least it felt that way. I mean, I'm not in fucking Jeff's head, so I don't know, but it felt that way to me. So TNA gives Jeff another chance. And what does he do? He puts on some of honestly the best matches of his life. He won the TNA World Championship in late 2012, and the fans were back in full force. Jeff wasn't just surviving now. He was owning it. New paint designs, new entrances, new energy entirely. It wasn't just about being the Daredevil anymore. It was about being the artist. You could feel it. Jeff was turning pain into performance. He feuds with Austin Aries, Bully Ray, and even Kurt Angle. And each one was honestly a classic. Jeff Hardy, against all odds, had rebuilt himself again. But this time, something weirder was coming. If you thought wrestling had already gotten strange, then buckle up, because this era of Jeff Hardy's life makes David Lynch look like a rom-com director. Matt Hardy, remember him? It's been a while since I brought him up. Starts spiraling into madness. He's broken Matt Hardy, speaking in a weird, bizarre accent, calling Jeff Brother Nero, cutting promos about deleting people's souls. I gotta do the emote, bro. You know what I mean? I gotta do the emote. That looks bad. Never mind, I'm not doing the emote. And instead of asking Matt if he's okay and, mentally stable and not going fucking insane and senile, Jeff just says bet. What follows is one of the most creatively insane storylines in all of wrestling history. The final deletion. It's filmed in their backyard. There are fireworks, drones, a dilapidated boat named Skarsgård, and Jeff Hardy riding a dirt bike to his own funeral. They literally fight in their own lawn, suplex each other into a lake, and one of them gets reborn mid-match. And the crazy part is it worked. Also, this just seems like one of the coolest things to do with your fucking brother in the world. I don't have a brother. I have a sister, but I don't have a brother. But like my best friend, this seems like imagine doing this on TV. Fans absolutely loved it. It was weird, genius, hilarious, and oddly emotional. The Hardys became pop culture again. They started defending the tag team titles of the multiverse, literally going from promotion to promotion, collecting belts like Infinity Stones. They even showed up in Ring of Honor in 2017 for a match against the Young Bucks that absolutely tore the house down. It wasn't just nostalgia. This was the Hardys evolving, turning chaos into comedy, and madness into mythology. Alright, so it's March 2017. Ring of Honor's Manhattan Mayhem 6. The Hardys show up, challenge the Young Bucks, win the titles, and the place erupts. It's like the multiverse folded in on itself and said, yep, this tracks. Then at Supercard of Honor 11, they lose them back in a ladder match. But that match was a straight up masterpiece. The next day, the internet's losing its mind with rumors, because the Hardys weren't done. Not by a long shot. They were about to walk into WrestleMania 33. 2017, WrestleMania 33. The showcase of the Immortals. Picture it. The Raw Tag Team Ladder Match. The Club, Enzo and Cass. Cesaro and Sheamus. Solid lineup, right? And then the New Day comes out. They do their little antics, you know what I'm saying? Dance around. I fuck with the New Day. They should not be heel right now. Not that they're doing anything bad. It just feels like the heel turn was just for shock value, kind of like John Cena's heel turn. And they just didn't really have a plan for it. Just feel like they turned on Big E for no reason. Maybe he was supposed to get cleared to come interfere or something in that match on WrestleMania, but they come out and announce that it's now a fatal 4-way. And then the music hits. Matt and Jeff walk out, not just as wrestlers, but as walking nostalgia bombs. The Broken Era energy still kind of dripping off of them, but they're playing it cool, keeping the broken stuff subtle for now, because WWE's lawyers were basically hiding behind Vince's chair, and the crowd lost their collective minds. People are crying, people are screaming, someone in the third row is speaking in tongues again, and Michael Cole, the human embodiment of a middle manager, is yelling the Hardys are back, like he just discovered he could scream like that. And then Jeff does what Jeff does best. He looks for the world's tallest ladder, climbs it, looks down at gravity and says, "We've had a good run, pal. and swantons off of it, straight through a ladder and through Cesaro and Sheamus. The crowd exploded. The Hardys won the tag team titles. Like, that's not a comeback. That was a resurrection. After the miracle at WrestleMania 33, Jeff and Matt go full steam ahead on the nostalgia train, minus the lawsuit. They're doing their old move. The crowd's chanting again, and WWE's accountants are rubbing their hands together like cartoon villains. Jeff's energy was electric. He's back in the big leagues, painting his face, hitting swantons, climbing things that OSHA would straight up never approve of. Matt was still kind of weird, like reads Shakespeare to his drones in the backyard type of weird, but there's tension brewing. Because WWE being WWE, they just don't quite know what to do with them. They're legends, but the tag division was overloaded with guys who do flips like they're getting ready to do a TikTok competition. Still, Jeff shines in his single matches, even though he wasn't much slower and obviously not in his prime. He's mixing the old Daredevil persona with a new, mature aura. Like the veteran who's seen it all, survived it all, and is still crazy enough to just keep jumping off shit. And the fans were eating it up. After about a year, the Hardy Boys temporarily split so that Matt can fully embrace his Woken persona. Meanwhile, Jeff, he just goes solo again. This is where the charismatic Enigma officially reclaims his spot as one of the most unique stars in all of wrestling. He starts feuding with Orton again. Randy literally tried to rip Jeff's ear open, like off with a fucking screwdriver. It was nuts. And instead of screaming for help like a normal person, Jeff Hardy basically just laughed it off. And that's Jeff Hardy for you. A man who treats pain tolerance like it's a competition. Dives off cages, gets slammed through tape, does swantons onto steel step. It's that blend of chaos and art that only Jeff can really pull off. It's like he's trying to outdo every near-death experience he's ever done before. After years of stops, starts, and self-destruction, Jeff captures the United States Championship. It's not the biggest belt, but for Jeff, it's proof. Proof that he could still climb back to the top without losing himself again. By late 2018, Jeff starts leaning hard into his artistic side again. Every week, his face paint gets more intricate. Geometric lines, abstract symbols, glowing colors. But here's the twist. It's not just an aesthetic. Jeff starts explaining in interviews that he paints his face to express his emotions. When he feels calm, it's balanced and clean. When he feels chaotic or anxious, it's jagged and wild. It's kind of like visual poetry. He's turning trauma into design. His face becomes like a living canvas of everything he survived, and honestly, it's hauntingly beautiful. You don't just see Jeff Hardy. You see through Jeff Hardy. Every match feels like he's painting a story with his body. Every bump, every dive, every scream, part of his masterpiece. Outside the ring, Jeff's still living the roller coaster life. Family, art, music. He's pouring himself into all of it. Recording songs, painting murals, and releasing wild music videos that look like if Salvador Dali found Premiere Pro. Here's the thing about Jeff Hardy. For every flight, there's a fall. And every time he's hit the ground, he somehow find a way to get back up. At this point, Jeff Hardy has been yeeted off of basically any fucking surface that you can imagine. The man's body is basically held together by willpower, duct tape, and the tears of WWE's medical team. He's dealing with knee problems, neck issues, and that one shoulder that probably files an HR complaint every single time he does a swanton bomb. But Jeff doesn't slow down, because he doesn't know what slow down means. If he's not flying through a table or off a ladder, he's not alive. So he keeps going until one day, the knee gives out. Boom. Surgery. Time off. The fans are devastated. But Jeff's like, I'll paint, I'll write music, I'll heal, and then I'll jump off something again eventually. Jeff Hardy's career isn't just ladders and titles. It's about addiction. That's the ghost that's always been lurking around backstage. Throughout his life, Jeff has been open about his struggles with addiction, but in 2019, after his surgery, that struggle comes roaring back. I would assume because he got prescribed some sort of painkiller, and he was most likely addicted to painkillers, and that made him relapse. There are arrests, headlines, footage no one wants to see. It's ugly. Because for Jeff, downtime has always been dangerous. He's not built to sit still. He's built to create, to move, to fly. And when he can't, that chaos has nowhere else to go but inwards. WWE quietly sent him home, rehab, recovery, reflection, the whole cycle again. Fans start to worry this might be it, that the charismatic Enigma might finally burn out. But if you know Jeff Hardy's story, you know one thing. He's a phoenix. A messy, face-painted, rock-singing phoenix who just refuses to stay down. Then the world stopped. Pandemic, empty arenas, wrestling in silence. You can hear every bump, every grunt, every echo of the ring. And in that eerie silence, Jeff Hardy comes back. He returns to SmackDown, still limping but smiling, like a man who's made peace with the storm inside of him. Fans aren't even there, but somehow you can feel them through the camera, through the screen. WWE leans into the redemption story. Jeff starts feuding with Sheamus, the big red-headed Guinness golem. Sheamus plays the heel perfect, mocking Jeff's past, calling him a junkie similar to Punk, throwing drinks in his face. Basically WWE's way of saying, let's make trauma into television. And Jeff does what Jeff does best and turns that pain into performance. He cuts promos that feel too real. He looks into the camera and says, "You think I'm broken? I'm still here. I'm still fighting." It's not wrestling, it's therapy broadcast live on Fox. And then, at Backlash 2020, Jeff beat Sheamus. Not just in the ring, but symbolic. He beat the narrative that's haunted him for over a decade. This is when you start realizing something deeper. Jeff Hardy isn't just an entertainer. He's performance art with a pulse. Every ladder match was like a metaphor for relapse and recovery. Every swanton bomb was a leap of faith. Literally, and spiritually. Every time he stands back up, he's rewriting his own story. And by the end of 2020, Jeff's body was tired. His face paint was more expressive than ever, but his soul was still burning. He's sober, focused, and grateful. The crowd, not there physically, but they feel him. Because everyone's going through their own chaos that year. Jeff Hardy becomes a mirror for every fan who's ever fallen apart and tried to rebuild. Jeff Hardy's career has always walked the line between beauty and tragedy. And 2019 to 2020, this was the tightrope act of his life. The fans see a man who refuses to give up. But behind the face paint, you can see the toll. Every time Jeff climbs the ladder, it's not about the belts anymore. It's about redemption. 2021 started weird for Jeff Hardy. He's in that strange WWE limbo, not main eventing, not forgotten, just kind of floating through the mid-card chaos, kind of like Carmelo Hayes right now. Beating up Elias with a guitar like he's Jeff Jarrett. But then, July 19th, 2021. Raw. The crowd's back after the pandemic. The lights go out and the riff hit. And for the first time since 2009, fans heard No More Words, Jeff Hardy's OG theme. Don't you see the writing on the wall? Writing on the wall, you're in way over your head. Gonna drown in the things that you said. Time is coming, gone for words. Dun, 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 dun. I used to know that song by fucking heart. That song is a banger, bro. We're talking goosebumps, tears, dudes with face paint crying. Jeff walks out, head high, arms out, sucking it all in like he's standing in the rain of his own legacy. And then he does what Jeff Hardy does. He pins Karrion Kross. This was a fucking stupid decision that they never should have done. You know, the guy WWE had been building on NXT as an unstoppable monster with the ominous music, the red lights, and his wife Scarlett, who is an absolute fucking baddie. Just in case Karrion Kross sees this, you know she's bad, and you also know you could beat my ass. So, it's the fucking truth. Isn't that motherfucker like Black Belt and Judah? Jeff just rolled him up and won. Crowd nuclear. Twitter imploding. Karrion Kross was probably somewhere staring at his ceiling asking, what the fuck just happened? It was pure chaotic Hardy magic. And like I said, this should not have fucking happened. I feel like they just did this for unpredictability. Jeff should have got squashed in that match. I'm not gonna lie. They should have had that man absolutely murder Jeff. Because that would have also built heat on Kross. Like, it would have been a double whammy. It would have been so... And they proceeded to not do shit with Kross after that, so. This was Jeff's renaissance. He was back. Not just wrestling, but glowing. The face paint got crazier. Promos got raw. Pause. Raw. Bro, I've been recording for so fucking long. This is the longest script I've ever had. This shit is taking for fucking ever. I'm losing my goddamn mind. And you could tell, he wasn't just phoning it in. No, this was probably his last big chapter. And he was gonna make it count. He started feuding for the United States title, mixing it with Damian Priest, aka the bisexual Undertaker, which is one of the funniest fucking nicknames I've ever heard. And Sheamus, you know, the fucking Guinness Gold for earlier. Giving us matches that were 60% chaos and 40% art. Even when Jeff was losing, fans didn't really care. Because Jeff Hardy losing is still Jeff Hardy doing Jeff Hardy shit. It wasn't really about wins or losses. It was about the moment. And that's where Hardy always delivers. Moment. You could feel the music every time his energy hit. Or, no, you could feel that... You could feel the energy every time his music hit, a mix of nostalgia and adrenaline. The aura of a man who had crashed more times than anyone could probably fucking count, but somehow was still alive and looked like he was having more fun every single time he did it. Now, around this time, WWE starts doing some weird things with Jeff. They've got him, one of the most beloved wrestlers ever, and they start booking him in 24/7 segments. You know, the goofy belt where people get pinned in the hallway, on airplanes, and even fucking during weddings for some reason. Yeah, so picture this. Jeff Hardy, the man who's literally jumped off of 20-foot ladders, now chasing around Tozawa and R-Truth like he's in an episode of Scooby-Doo. Fans were furious. The internet erupted. People were like, you've got a living legend in your locker room, and you're making him chase after the comedy belt. It was disrespectful, yeah, but in a way, it kind of just showed how unkillable Jeff Hardy's popularity really was. I genuinely think this motherfucker could do damn near anything, and people would not give a fuck. Like, it would have to be some Chris Benoit levels of shit for people to fucking not like Jeff Hardy. I'm being dead ass. It would have to be some crazy. But because no matter what WWE threw at him, the man stayed over. Jeff Hardy could wrestle a broom, and the crowd would still chant his name. Hardy keeps grinding. He gets another shot at the US title at Extreme Rules 2021. Triple threat style against Damian Priest and Sheamus. And even though Priest retains, Jeff nearly steals the show. Again. Fans start chanting, one more run. One more run. It's like the crowd knew something was ending. Because behind the scenes, things were changing. Whispers started spreading that Jeff's contract was coming to an end. His energy backstage was even different. He'd show up, wrestle, paint, talk about art and music. And then he would just disappear into his world. But in ring, still magic. Still pure Hardy energy. Then comes December 4th, 2021. A house show, Jeff Hardy teams with Drew McIntyre. Mid-match, he just leaves, walks to the crowd, and vanishes. People thought it was part of the show at first, but nope, that was real. WWE sends him home. And a few days later, they release him. No thank you, no farewell tour. door, no Hall of Fame handshake, just gone. Rumors started swirling again of a failed drug test, erratic behavior, and burnout. All the old headlines came rushing back. But here's a twist. Jeff took a drug test himself and passed. Clean, sober, and focused. And he even turns down a WWE Hall of Fame off because Jeff Hardy doesn't do curtain calls. He does rebirths. Here's the kick. WWE was apparently planning to bring Jeff into NXT as the shaman for MSK. You know, the cool, mysterious mentor role. Perfect for him. But when they cut him loose, the role went to Riddle instead. Yeah, Riddle. Barefoot Bong Man. Now, I have no issue with weed, but this motherfucker's a piece of shit. I'm pretty sure. Like, everything, I've only heard bad things about him since he left WWE. And I'm pretty sure I just saw a video of him beating up a fucking interviewer. But that could have been a work, to be fair. So after decades of breaking bones, breaking tables, and breaking expectations, Jeff Hardy is gone from WWE. But then February 2022 rolls around. Jeff drops a bombshell. Yeah, I'm going to AEW. That's it. No mystery, no hype, just casually announcing it like he's ordering a coffee. Fans lost their mind. Matt Hardy was already in AEW, and the thought of the Hardy Boys reuniting, that's just pure wrestling nostalgia heroin. And so the countdown began. And when the 90-day non-compete clause ends, on March 9th, 2022, Jeff Hardy returned. So, here's the picture. Matt's in trouble, being beat down by Andrade's AHFO crew, Butcher, Blade, Private Party, the whole gang of corporate goths. And suddenly, the music hit. Jeff Hardy dances his way to the ring, because Jeff is obviously incapable of walking normally. The crowd erupted. It's like time rewound back to 2000. The Hardy Boys were back. Swantons, Twist of Fates, nostalgia hitting harder than a steel chair to the face. They were back together again, but older, wiser, and still as reckless as ever. And immediately, it's back to like it's 2000 again. The Hardys are flipping and defying both gravity and doctor's notices. And then May 2022 rolls around. Double or nothing. The Hardys versus the Young Bucks. The Pioneers versus the Proteges. It's the kind of match that doesn't really need storytelling. Just heart, chaos, and two guys named Matt pretending they can still move like they're 25. The match was a war. Tables explode. Jeff dies off of everything not nailed down. At one point, he took a super kick so loud it probably registered on the Richter scale. But the Hardys do end up winning. Barely. Physically, they look like they just fought an entire Home Depot that came to life. Emotionally, they're God. Pure vintage Hardy magic. But behind it, you could see the cracks forming. In the following weeks, things feel off. Jeff's moving slower, his landings are rougher, his eyes seem distant. Then reports hit. Jeff suffered a terrible concussion-like injury during that match. Matt would later say that Jeff was almost knocked out mid-match, which to be fair, sounds like something that would happen in most Hardy matches, but still, this time it was different. This wasn't just wear and tear. This was the body cashing in all those IOUs from the last 25 years. And then everything changes. June 14th, 2022. News break. Jeff Hardy had been arrested, driving under the influence. Fans' hearts collectively shattered. AEW immediately suspends him. No pay, no TV. Matt releases a statement that's part heartbreak, part hope, saying Jeff needs help and not punishment. And he's right. Jeff's career has always walked a tightrope between art and tragedy. This was just another slip, but not the end. Jeff was scheduled to appear at Triple Mania XXX in Mexico, main eventing against Dragon Lee and Dralistico. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. It was going to be a dream crossover. The Hardys in AAA. Chaos in full swing. Instead, Jeff's mugshot replaces his poster. AAA scrambles. They replace him last minute with an I swear this isn't a fever dream. Johnny Hardy. Yeah, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, the man of like 50 million different names. Matt teams with Johnny instead. The fans know who's missing though, and the night feels kind of quiet. Months go by, no Jeff, no updates, just silent. And honestly, this was probably the best thing for him. Behind the scenes, Jeff goes to rehab, he focuses on painting and his family, and he just overall steps away from the spotlight. The same spotlight that's both made and broken him throughout his entire life. Matt keeps his seat warm in AEW, carrying on the Hardy name, but you can tell his heart's not really in it. Every time somebody asks about Jeff, Matt's voice cracks a little bit. The fans, they wait. April 12th, 2023. AEW Dynamite. The Firm, Lee Moriarty, Ethan Page, and Big Bill are attacking Matt, Hook, and Isaiah Cassidy. Suddenly, the crowd noise shifts. They feel it. That familiar beat. That electric energy that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. Loaded blast throughout the arena. And there he is. Jeff Hardy, standing atop the ramp. Matt freezes for a moment, and the fans are screaming like someone just declared a national holiday. Jeff sprints down the ramp. He slides under the rope. He hits the ring. Dives over Big Bill like he's a speed bump 2.0. And chaos ensues. The commentary table loses. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hardy Boys are officially unleashed in AEW. The Firm retreats, but not before Jeff nails Moriarty with a Swanton Bomb. Crowd erupts, Jeff stumbles, hugs Matt mid-ring. The arena is pure pandemonium. Injuries, arrests, suspensions. and is back at the top of his game. Jeff Hardy was slated to make an appearance as Will-O-the-Wisp, a dark, enigmatic character that he came up with. AEW and the Hardys teased it backstage. The creativity department was buzzing, but ultimately the idea was scrapped. Why? Because Jeff, as himself, unhinged, untamed, and borderline reckless, was already more than enough. Fans didn't need Willow. They needed Jeff. Fast forward to February 14th, 2024. AEW Rampage. Jeff faces Sammy Guevara in a no disqualification match. Ladders, chairs, chaos. It's the classic Hardy style storytelling. Every near fall makes the fans lose their minds. Every dive makes them gasp. Then the moment of reality. Jeff attempts a high risk maneuver and he crashes into Guevara with everything he's got. The impact was brutal. Jeff emerges, but blood is visible. Not just from scratches, his nose is broken. He fights through it, finishes the match, but you can see the toll. That would be Jeff's final AEW appearance as of the making of this video. No bells, no pyros, no farewell match. Just Jeff stepping away, leaving the fans hoping he'll land safely wherever he goes next. June 14th, 2024. Against all odds, the arena darkens. Matt Hardy is in the ring, surrounded by Moose in the system after a post-match attack. And cue Jeff's music. The crowd erupts. He slides into the ring. Swanton Bomb? Not yet. First, he stomps through the chaos. Moose retreats. The Hardys are reunited. The next night on Impact, they team up against Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers for the Impact World Tag Team Championship. The match ends in disqualification, but the message is clear. The Hardys are back and ready to dominate the tag division. At Victory Road 2024, they defeat First Class, earning a shot at the tag team title. October 26, 2024, Bound for Glory, the Hardy Boys face the System and Ace Austin and Chris Bay in a three-way Full Metal Mayhem match. Tables, ladders, chairs, explosions, the signature of the Hardys. And they win. And they win the tag team championships once again. At Final Resolution 2024, they defended successfully against the System in a tables match. The Hardys prove yet again that tag team wrestling in any era will always belong. And then 2025 rolls in. The Hardys lose the titles at Rebellion 2025 to Nick and Ryan Nemeth. Nick Nemeth, I believe, is I think it's Nick. Is formerly Dolph Ziggler, by the way. After a 183-day reign, Slammiversary 2025, the Hardys regained the championships in a fatal four-way ladder match involving the Nemeths, the Rascals, and First Class. Ladders, swing, high-flying mat. The crowd was delirious. And then Bombshell. While under a contract with TNA/Impact, the Hardys returned to NXT on February 2025, or on February 25th, 2025. And NXT Roadblock on March 11th, they defended the tag team championships against the NXT champions Fraxium, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom. On October 7th, 2025 NXT Showdown, the Hardy Boys defeated Dark State to be the first ever TNA people to have an NXT championship since the little merger that they have going, which is pretty fucking sick. And so yeah, that's Jeff Hardy's entire career explained by me, a dumbass. I hope you enjoyed. If so, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. If I missed anything, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, peace.